All right, y'all. I've been given the word that I think that we are live, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Kipp, and I'm really excited to be kicking off SNES Super Stars for everybody. I'm going to be playing Super Metroid today, and I'm going to do a low percent ice run. I'll explain what that is as we get started, but we'll go ahead and get started here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright everybody, so Super Metroid is my favorite Super Nintendo game. Growing up, Chrono Trigger was always my favorite game, but I really loved Super Metroid 2. But then later on in life, when I kind of discovered speedrunning and started playing Super Metroid, it overtook Chrono Trigger as my all-time #1 favorite game. So it's a really great game. I'm really excited to be running it for you guys. I think this is maybe my second SNES Super Stars event. Funny enough, I think the last time I did a Super Metroid run for SNES Super Stars, I did like a very quick extension category and actually set a world record during the event, but it was for a category that, you know, very few people had done a run of. What we're doing today is low percent ice. Low percent ice is, as you can already tell, a low percent category. It still does not use any major glitches, and so the lowest number of items that you can collect in this game and still complete a run with a no major glitches sort of rule set is 14%. There's actually a few different variations of the 14%. This one features the ice beam and is generally the fastest of all the low percent categories, but it's my favorite category. I've played it a lot. I've done a lot of relays and stuff with it, so I'm excited to do the run today. I'll explain a little bit more about the run as we go. One thing I need to cover before we go any further is, you know, this is a speed run, but really for me today it's probably going to be more of a brisk jog. I'm not I don't currently pursue any PBs in Super Metroid. I'm kind of just doing this for fun. But back in the day when I was playing a lot, every time I would get a PB, I would celebrate with a Kit Kat. So I need everybody in here to go find some type of treat or something to keep in place for when we get to the end of the run. If I'm able to complete this run, it will technically be a PB for a SNES Super Stars low ice run for me. So we'll all celebrate together. So whether you got a Kit Kat or some other thing, no matter what your preference is, go ahead and get something and we'll enjoy it together, hopefully, if I can finish this run. So, as mentioned before, 14%, so we're going to collect 14 items. We're going to get both major suits, 2 missiles, 2 supers, 1 power bomb pack, charge beam, ice beam, and then I think 3 E-tanks, and I think that's all the items, and morphing ball and bombs. So, we are going to be very limited on our firepower. We will have no movement items. So the movement that you see right now, like how Samus controls at the beginning of the game, is how she will be controlled the entire game. No high jump boots, no speed booster, no space jump. So that is actually one thing I really like about the design of Super Metroid, though. The fact that you can complete the game with or without a lot of those movement items. So anyway, it'll be fun. I consider Super Metroid to be kind of like a great Mozart classical piece. It's like it doesn't matter how long ago it was created, it's still a work of art and a work of genius. Super Metroid, in my opinion, is one of the greatest design games of all time, and there's so many things about it that make it a really interesting and cool game to speedrun. So I do have chat pulled up. I see Dave in there and some other people that I recognize. Hope you guys are doing well. And if y'all have any questions or comments, I don't mind trying to answer them along the way, because it actually relaxes me a little bit to talk during runs. So if anybody has any questions about the run, feel free. I know a lot of people are at least somewhat familiar with Super Metroid speedrunning, because we have a lot of, you know, pretty famous runners that do the game, and plus it's been in a lot of GDQs and other marathons. But I'll try to add a little bit of insight into this run as we go. I kind of want to keep it a little light though. Don't want to be too technical about every single room, but just kind of give you the gist of it. I think the main thing about low percent ice that makes it fun to me, the reason it's my favorite category, is because the boss fights are very unique. Because you have hardly any firepower, the boss fights are a lot longer, and in some cases like a lot different in terms of how you execute. So in particular, the Ridley, Dragon, and Mother Brain fights will be a lot different in this, and in my opinion a lot harder, but also kind of more fun. Hershey bar, all right, you love to see it. Very good. Thank you, DJ. What's up, Gooey? Melissa. Accidentally missed Alcatraz there. Off to a strong start. Out of all the categories, why low percent ice? Yeah, so as I mentioned just a second ago, I just really like the boss fights, and I also like the limited movement. I think it's sort of a unique run. Because you have so many limitations, you kind of have to play a good bit differently than most of the other major categories. How you move room to room is a lot different. Plus, it's kind of a challenge run. You know, I felt this way. I know a lot of people do, but completing your very first low percent ice run after you get started speedrunning is kind of like a big event in the life of any Super Metroid speedrunner. And, you know, I don't think it's actually the hardest category to play necessarily at the highest level. But at the same time, I think that when you're first getting started, it actually might be the most challenging one to complete a run of. I actually feel like this is a little more challenging for a newer player than even an RBO run, mainly because RBO is the type of category where you can build in some safeties and get extra items. In this, you can't really add hardly anything in. You know, like you can technically go maybe in a different order to go a little bit slower and get some of the E-tanks a little bit earlier, but you cap out at that 14%. And so this is the kind of category where you can either execute it or you can't, and there's nothing you can really put in place to kind of make it easier on yourself. But once you get used to it, I think categories like RBO require a little bit more execution just to live. One thing I like about low percent in Super Metroid is compared to some other games that might exist out there, just because it's low percent doesn't mean like, okay, you get hit one time and you die. It's just more about you have a lot less firepower and movement, and so you go a little bit slower, things take a little bit longer, but you still have a lot of resource management, and personally I find that very fascinating. I think resource management and strategic approach are probably some of my favorite things about speedrunning Super Metroid. Alright, so we are going to do Phantoon first. I'm going to put in a few quote-unquote safety strats. Like, there are a few rooms that I will go a little bit slower in, but I'm going to take a little less damage. And I'm actually going to include 3 saves here since this is a marathon. Obviously, if I was running this for a PB, I wouldn't put any saves in, but I'm going to treat this very similar to how we do relay races in Super Metroid. Every couple years or so, we'll have a relay race, and a lot of times I get asked to run low ice. And we usually have some rules in place that require players to save 3 times, just so in case you have something terrible happen, your whole team doesn't lose like an hour's worth of a run. So anyway, I'm going to save right before Phantoon. I very rarely have issues dying to Phantoon, but it can happen and has happened to a lot of players in marathon settings. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that also gives me a little bit of a chance to get a little energy there. And then we're coming up on one of the worst rooms in the whole run. It's the moat. This is the kind of room where if you fail to get across quickly, you have to basically restart your run immediately if you're doing a PB. since this is a marathon, I guess the pressure is a little bit less. I can get stuck in here and it's not nearly, you know, the penalty as it would be for a PB. But this is a really tough room. There's a few ways to get across. I'm going to focus for a minute and just try to get across. Let's see how long it takes. All right, so I missed the CWJ chance. Now we're going to go for a backup horizontal bomb jump. This is a little bit of a finicky strat for me, so let's see how long it takes. Well, how about that? Let's go, y'all. Off to a good start. Well, shucks. A little late on that jump. Lose a couple seconds here, but not a big deal. You really don't want to fall in the ocean, especially as you get deeper into this room. But we're coming up on the Phantoon fight. Phantoon is still a dangerous boss, even for strong speedrunners or people who are very experienced. One thing that makes the Phantoon fight even harder in low percent is because most of the other runs you enter this fight with 15 missiles. Here we can only cap out at 10, and we've already got 10. We're not going to pick up any more regular missiles. And so I have to try to manipulate the missile drops, and sometimes if I don't get enough, I can't do it. Like, 2 rounds with Phantoon are hard anyway. They're even more difficult in low ice because of the maintenance you have to do with your missiles. So I'd be happy with the 3 round here. Let's see what kind of patterns we get. So I keep firing off missiles because I don't want to be full. If I'm full, he won't drop any. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 3 round here. Technically, I could still pull off a 2 round, but it would be real tough. Yeah, okay, so we're just going to do a 3 round here. Hopefully we'll get another mid and we'll get some decent drops and be on our way. Oh, of course he's punishing us for missing the 2 round. Alright, very good. So, through the fight, a little slow, but otherwise no major issues. Now let's see what kind of RNG we get. One thing I will say about low percent ice, even though it's very fun in isolation to do, it is actually it can be a frustrating category to grind. Especially the better you get, because a lot of the run is legitimately based on RNG. There are times in the run where you have to farm, like it's basically fastest to farm up to full on a lot of your ammo, but if you don't get the drops, you just have to sit there and wait on it. So, you know, sometimes it's very difficult to line up your best execution of a run with the best RNG. So it takes a truly special run for everything to come together. Here, 2 power bombs is not good. I can manage it, but it's not what I would have preferred. But I'm going to have to be thinking about my ammo for like the next 4 or 5 minutes. Alright, so we're coming up on bowling, and then we're going to get our gravity suit. We are going to be forced to take a lot of damage in this bowling room. But if I do it correctly, I think we can get by with just taking 120. And we should be good. So let's try to get these jumps. Alright, not bad. We should be in there. Alright. So now we wait on one of the cutscenes. There's a few cutscenes that are pretty long in this game. They give you time to reflect on, especially if you're on a sick pace. If you're on a really, really strong pace, get some good Phantoon RNG early, get across the moat, you know, quickly. It gives you a few seconds to really think about how many ways you can screw up the run in the future. But anyway, we're going to grab this gravity suit, and then technically the world record route, which is the same as the route that I have in my PB, actually goes to Ridley second. It's only just very slightly faster, though, than doing Crate Second. Doing Crate Second is way, way safer in the grand scheme of things, so we're going to do Crate Second. We're going to go ahead and get the Various suit and an additional E-Tank. And that will help us be prepared for having a little bit of a smoother time, hopefully, in Lower Norfair. Hopefully I'll get a power bomb drop right here. Alright, I got 2, that's good. So now I can probably skip any other power bomb farming for a little bit. Forced reflection, that's right. And it's even worse when you get to G4 later. If you're on a sick pace near the end of the game, they force you to stare at the screen for like a minute before you can progress in Torian. So I'm going to do a little bit of farming here. This farming would be more important on the world record route. I could probably do without it in this route, but it's pretty fast, and we're just going to do a lot of things to kind of give us as much leeway as possible here. So we are heading down now to get the Various suit. One interesting thing that newer players to the game might not be aware of is, in terms of the vanilla game, the gravity suit overwrites the defensive properties of the Various suit in just almost every case except for one major one. So technically we don't really need the Various suit to protect us from heat or anything like that. The gravity suit will already do that, and the gravity suit has already maximized the amount of defense we would get to like regular attacks. But the Various suit, oh, I messed that strat up. At the end of the game, when Mother Brain does a rainbow beam, it will do 3 E-tanks of damage to the Various suit. If you don't have the Various suit and only have gravity, it will do 6. And so basically the Various suit is required to keep that percentage down to 14. If we had to pick up 6 E-tanks, we would end up with like 16% or something like that because of not picking up the very beginning E-tank. So anyway, let's get in here. This is actually in some ways not even close to being the most dangerous fight usually, but at the same time, probably the most stressful fight for a marathon setting. I actually don't really care that much if I fail other rooms, but if I miss the crate quick kill here, I'm gonna hear it from all the Super Metroid speedrunners. So pressure's really high right now. All right, we're in there. All right, pretty good drops. This is actually a pretty good circumstance. So I will take a moment and say that I'm really excited about the SNES Super Stars event overall. I looked at the schedule. There's a lot of great runs, and I want to point out that we've got a lot of Super Metroid content coming your way over the next 10 days. We got some other vanilla runs. I think we might have some races, and I think there's some folks running some ROM hacks. Super Metroid is one of those games that has a really robust ROM hacking community. There's a lot of great hacks out there. And so check out the schedule and look for some other Super Metroid stuff. Alright, so y'all, we are, I believe at this point, we have 13 of the items. So we are 1 item away from maxing out what we will be picking up on this run. No, excuse me, we have 12 items. I still need the Ice Beam, which I'm about to grab right now. And then the final item that we will get with this route is the Ridley E-Tank. So this category features a very quick upper Norfair since we're not picking up high jump boots, speed booster, or wave beam, or anything else. We're just gonna run over here, grab the Ice Beam, and then head to Lower Norfair, which is a pretty scary place in low percent, but it's also the most fun, so. The only thing I'm doing right now is I'm trying to manage my super count so that I can avoid any kind of major farm. I'm doing some small farms along the way to avoid having to go into a room to farm the bugs. So especially if I can get a super drop from one of these Sovas. Alright, I did not, but that's okay. But anyway, this route, I typically like to do a little bit more farming. If I'm doing the other route, I actually skip some of this. Here's a great strat. Hopefully I got it. If we get a mock ball, we can get underneath this. Alright, very good. We can get underneath that, that gate. I'm going to use regular missiles instead of supers right now where I can, because I'm going to get a chance to farm back the missiles. I have a better chance of farming the missiles back here in a minute. You know, this room has gone really poorly in my practice, and everything just went exactly right this time, so got a little lucky there. But yeah, so we're going to skip any kind of major farm, but I am going to invest just like maybe a second or two to try to get my regular missiles back to full. I won't go into all the details about every nuance about why this is happening, but essentially I'd like to be full on missiles when I enter Lower Norfair. So we're in good shape here. I'm gonna try to collect all these power bombs down here as well. And then one thing I will say, actually let me do this gravity jump. I'm gonna make sure I don't mess this up. This can be a little tricky sometimes. Okay, so I am not going to save here. I technically could. We're coming up on the most important room in this run, the worst room in the game. I'm going to try to opt to wait to save until right before Ridley. I'm going to try to exercise some confidence here and hope that I get this. But anyway, I'm going to need to focus for a minute. But the worst room in the game is a few rooms away. It is a tough room in pretty much every run. In this one, it's even crazier. It's probably my favorite strat in the game, and it's pretty unique, and I think it's kind of fun to watch. So anyway, I'm going to focus and try to get this. It's 2 rooms away, and let's see if we can get it without having to reset the room and lose a bunch of time. It's the kind of room where if you mess it up in a run, the run is essentially over. All right, here we go. There we go. All right. Technically, I could have avoided hitting that guy. It's a bit tight, but taking that damage is not a big deal. The main thing is we got to the top and we're in there. Because I took that hit at the top, though, I'm going to play it slightly more conservative here in this next room. There's a strat where I can attempt to jump over one of these key hunters, but I'm actually gonna just let him pass me and just keep it a little bit easy. I need to maintain these 2 power bombs. I literally have just enough power bombs to get through what I need to. There's an orange door right here, and then there's a mandatory power bomb in the next room that I need to save. And at this point, I will say that one of the other most difficult, or in my opinion, most complex rooms is actually the Ridley farm, right before Ridley. It's very easy to kind of mess up the room and get off rhythm. So basically from here, the only thing I'll say is Ridley in this category, if you only used ice shots, Ridley and Mother Brain would both take 200 charge shots each. With Ridley, it's less because you get to supplement with some ammo, but it is a fight that I need to really focus on, and it's a long fight. So anyway, I'm going to kind of lock in, and I'll see y'all hopefully after a successful Ridley fight. Hopefully we won't die. And I have a really cool strat as an opener for the Ridley fight that I actually designed myself. Probably the strat in the game I'm most proud of for coming up with. Technically, Zost actually uses a modified version of it. He came up with a better version of it, but he used it in his world record run. So I call it the Maverick. All right, here we go. Nice. All right, guys, here we go. Let's get started. This is going to be a while. Oh, I just realized I did not save before the Ridley fight, and I was supposed to. Alright, well, pressure's on, guys. Let's do it. That was a really good fight, actually. Like, I'm actually interested later to go back and see how fast that was. That was really strong. Like, even though I'm not currently grinding this category or practicing much, if I had had a fight like that in a PB attempt, I would have been very happy, so. Alright, y'all, that's the last item we're going to pick up. Now, it's still pretty dangerous to get out of here. Everything in here hits like a truck, but hopefully we can have some good rooms and manage everything without much issue here, so let's give it a shot. I probably won't say too much on my way out of here, mainly just because I want to, you know, make sure I don't make any major mistake and live. These key hunters hit for 50 a pop. I should have enough energy to manage it without too much issue, assuming nothing goes terribly wrong, but, you know, with Super Metroid, you got to be careful. The Three Musketeers room in this category is actually a really important room, especially if you're doing the more aggressive route, because you have a lot less energy. It's actually one of my favorite rooms in this run too, here in a minute, so let's see if we can get it. We're gonna try to take one hit in this room and then use the iframes to get through the room as fast as we can. But everything's very particular. You have to be on the right rhythm. Very nice. All right, y'all. We are in there. We are leaving Lower Norfair, never to return. And shortly we'll be leaving Norfair for good. But we have to, since we're not fighting Kraid third here. Whoops, we actually need to refill all of our ammo, so we're going to have to take a moment to farm up here at the speed booster bugs. So this is kind of one of those moments where RNG plays a big factor. We need to get to full supers, or at least to 9. And a lot of times it takes a while. But the problem here is I could keep going, but I actually want to be full on regular missiles too. So anyway, that was a pretty good farm there. The reason we can do 9 is because this guy has like a 99% chance or whatever of dropping a super. So now we're full, and that'll help us. This is an interesting room. You don't typically go this direction in this room in speedruns. So this is kind of another one of those moments where low percent ice is kind of neat and features some stuff you don't normally see. We don't have speed booster, so we can't run through the Frog Speedway. So we got to go backwards through these. Oh, I never save on the way out from Ridley. The next save that we'll do will be before Mother Brain. But yeah, for like a marathon setting, low ice run for me, especially one where I'm not like grinding the category for PBs currently, this is actually a pretty good pace for a run. So far things are going well. I will say this though, the place I hate the worst in this run is Meridia. There is a lot of RNG. The two bosses are tough and can really screw you on RNG. So anyway, let's just stay focused here and see if we can make it work. This fish tank room is pretty interesting. I might have jumped too early. Yeah, I got a little bit too early. Sometimes you can beat the fish at the top. Whoops, but I was not quick enough, so now I gotta do some backups. Alright, so we're gonna do some gravity jump here. And then this next wall jump is actually kind of a tough one too. This room is both on the way in and the way out is actually a pretty tough room. Alright, luckily we got that one first try. And here is where you will see sort of the mandatory nature of the ice beam. We need an item or a collection of items to get through this room. In this category, the ice beam does that for us. So we will freeze this Metroid and use it to clip through. And then let me focus here. Phantoon's a huge troll. If he gives me the wrong pattern, I can't one round it, and it's really hard. And of course, he gave us the worst possible pattern. This is really, like, on a PB attempt, this is like the worst possible thing that can happen, because it can add like 30 seconds to your run just from getting the wrong pattern. So when you're like on a sick pace, you've got good RNG, and then you get here and he does this and you literally can't one round it, and then he starts doing all this nonsense. It's really frustrating. But, you know, Phantoon's gonna Phantoon. Another major RNG part is in this next room. We can't pick up this E-Tank. We gotta skip it, which is not a big deal, but here in a minute we need to have full supers going into the Dragon fight. And so we have to stop right here and farm. And sometimes if the bugs just say no and don't give you supers, you just sit here for a long time. So there's a whole lot of RNG in this run, especially in Meridia. The Dragon fight is, in my opinion, actually the biggest swing fight in the entire run. And the fact that it is rammed right up against the Phantoon fight and that farm right there is just a whole lot of RNG all at once. And it stinks because it's, you know, much later in the run. You could be on a sick pace and then just basically get halted by the game. But we're going to do a little bit slower of a Dragon fight by design here. If you're really trying to be aggressive and save as much time as you can actually leave several of the turrets up. Obviously, there's a chance you'll take a lot more damage or even die. But because this is a marathon and time is not the primary factor, it's mostly just living, we're going to actually destroy all of the turrets. And because I'm going to destroy them all, that's 900 damage right off the bat that I've given up, that I could technically use. And if I got like really good RNG, I could like get the fight over either 1 or 2 cycles faster. So anyway, y'all enjoy. This fight is really fascinating. I'm going to focus for a minute. This is a resource management fight, not just your ammo, but also your energy. Gonna use some pseudo screws. Every time I pseudo screw Dragon, it's 200 damage. But you don't want to do it too much because you take damage every time you pseudo screw. So the biggest piece of advice I could give to newer players when it comes to this fight is mainly, I'm gonna not pseudo screw anymore just to protect our energy, is mainly just to not be in too big of a hurry. Sometimes people try too hard to unload their ammo. I think I might can kill her right here. This is not too bad in terms of time. Yeah, that wasn't too bad for a marathon setting. Pretty quick fight for a marathon setting. But the difference between like a god fight and like an average fight is actually pretty big. And so when you're attempting a PB and you're trying to get everything to go your way, this fight can be a real heartbreaker. One thing I'll tell you in advance real quick is the Mount Everest room that we're about to get back to get out of Meridia is actually a really scary room and really finicky in this run. It's another reason why the Meridia section is, you know, kind of scary and frustrating. But I'm gonna attempt a strat that I don't typically attempt. It's a little bit faster. I think I have to get like a 3-frame jump to make it work. I'll give it a shot one time just to see if I can get it for, you know, fun marathon purposes. If I miss it, then I'll try to do the other strat. But even the other strat is kind of tough. One thing, if you're like really grinding this category, is you have to get used to ammo management throughout the whole run and also your energy. Here, I would normally not do this, but I'm actually going to show you a neat strat that'll take us a few seconds, but it should refill us on power bombs and give us a little bit more energy heading into lower Norfair, which we want. So those bulls right there helping us out with some power bombs. And I have a dog. Those of you that are familiar with my stream already know this. I have a dog named Sam. Her name is Samus, but I basically just call her Sam. She's always trying to get all up in the middle of everything when I'm playing. She's outside my door right now, a little upset that she can't come in. But when we get to get past Mother Brain, we'll let her in. Okay, if I did this correctly. Oh, we got it, y'all. That was the 3-frame jump. There's another strat that I don't know how to do that's been added within the last couple years that's like even crazy. There's some like super crazy strat where you run from the right side. I don't really know how to do it, and it's probably too hard for me. I'm one of those people that likes to, well, I like to look at what the most advanced strats are, but I know that I'm just being, you know, genuine here. I'm not really a skilled enough gamer to reach like the very, very tip-top ceiling of this game. This game has a very high ceiling. It's one of the things I like about it. But I like looking at what the most advanced strats are and then finding a way to make modifications to them to still be very fast. But like, I don't min-max every single room. I try to go for consistency. So one thing that I love about Super Metroid speedrunning that I would recommend to other people who are looking for potentially a new game to try. This game is awesome because you can run legitimately competitive fast times with your own spin on things. It's not something where you just literally have to do the same thing everybody else or other people do. I use a lot of strats that are my strats that I actually have more fun sort of designing things that will work for me to still be relatively fast. So it's cool to be able to do some of the most advanced strats, but at the same time it's also fun to like legitimately be able, this is a very artistic game. That would be the best way to describe it. There's a lot of leeway for you to put your own spin on it. Alright guys, so here's one of our other forced reflection points. We were able to make it to G4 in roughly right under 40 minutes. Not bad. Not bad at all. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, we're kicking off SNES Super Stars. I want to thank Feasel and everybody at SpeedGaming for including me and also having me be the opening run. That's really exciting. But if I'm able to complete this run, Mother Brain is very difficult, but if I'm able to complete it, it will be a low ice PB for me. So I'm going to celebrate with a Kit Kat. So everybody out there needs to go out and find something to snack on with me if we get to the end of this run. Whether you're a chocolate person or if you want some fruit or something else. But if we can get to the ship, we'll celebrate together. All right, y'all. So at this point, it's more resource management. We want to be full on supers when we get to the end of the Metroid rooms. I only got one super right there. All right, I'm going to start using regular missiles now, even if it's a little bit slower. I'm actually going to group these. I don't normally like to group these. Okay. Technically speaking, if we got screwed and didn't get a single super in this last room, I still could manage it. It would be really slow. But anyway, we're just going to go forward like normal. Alright, good. So, in the last couple of years, I haven't done any serious speed, like, I haven't really grinded any category for a PB in a couple of years. I still play in tournaments and stuff, but I'm aware that there are some folks that go for a baby skip in this category even without any of the movement items. It's a little bit faster. I do not know how to do it, and on top of that, I'm usually a little hesitant for strats like that because if you miss, it's actually a lot slower. So we're going to go ahead and damage down and let the baby get us down, and then we're actually going to try to open up 2 of the next red doors with regular missiles. And then if we do that and use a super on the 3rd door, that should give us exactly, I think maybe 1 missile leeway, enough ammo to progress past the Mother Brain 1 cutscene or whatever. So this is another way that you can lose your run when you're going for a PB. So there's a cool strat up here. This boss door takes 3 missiles, but if you do it correctly, you can actually hit it slightly off screen on the 3rd one. Let me see if I can get it. We got it. Okay. So y'all, the only thing I'll say at this point is the Mother Brain fight. This is also one of the reasons I love this category. The Mother Brain 2 fight is relatively free in some categories, or at least not overly difficult, assuming you avoid catastrophes in a lot of the other categories. This category, it is very tough. It is a very tough fight. Very bad things can happen. So at this point, I'm going to make a save. And then I'm basically just gonna probably not talk until after I get through the fight, assuming that I'm able to be successful. Mainly because I actually need to focus and I need to count. This is gonna be 250 shots, excuse me, 200 shots. And you pretty much don't have any ammo to really help you. So, yeah, I'm gonna focus and let's see what happens here. Oh man, she's already off to like a crazy start. Ooh. That was not very friendly either. Hey, I think we're in there, y'all. Let's go. All right. All right, y'all. At this point, it would be very difficult to fail this run. It's not impossible, but Mother Brain 3 usually should not be too much of a challenge. And then the escape isn't too bad either. Obviously, it's a little slower because we don't have the speed booster. So that some of the bigger rooms take a little bit longer. But anyway, off to a good start here. We're going to complete this run without a death, which is good. Took a couple saves, and this time is actually going to be not too bad. I might I might end up with like a 52, which is not a terrible time for a low ice run. So one thing I'll quickly say, as I do in most marathons and other events that I do, I just want to give a shout out to the Super Metroid community. It's a really fun game to speedrun by itself, but the community makes it even better. We got a lot of really helpful folks, a lot of cool ROM hacking going on, a lot of randomizers and tournaments and all kinds of stuff. So in fact, we even have a randomizer tournament that's going to be starting. I think the cutoff for the sign up is actually maybe this weekend, but we've got a randomizer tournament that's going to be starting here in the summer. And I actually I have a dev team that works on one of our randomizers called the Dash Randomizer. So there's all kinds of ways to get involved with Super Metroid. It's a very helpful community. People are always willing to share strats and talk and assist people. So if you're looking for an interesting speedrun game to get into, highly recommend. And even though Super Metroid is known for being, you know, like a difficult speedrun, one thing I love about it, as I mentioned earlier, is the ceiling of the game in terms of what you can do with it is very high, but I actually feel like it's very accessible. You can really modify your strats for wherever you currently are skill-wise and still, you know, get through a run, and it's just a lot of fun. So I actually don't think it's that hard of a game to get into, because there's so much modification you can do. So it's pretty accessible, and then there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. So if you're interested in Super Metroid, join our Discord. Come hang out. And again, we have several other Super Metroid runners that will be doing speedruns for the SNES Superstar event here. And we are about 3 rooms away from being done here, y'all. I should be able to get this in under 50, or in a 52 range here. Especially for a run that featured a couple of saves and some other stuff. Pretty good time. I'm actually really happy about this. So get your Kit Kats or Hershey bars or whatever treat you decided to get ready, because guys, this is about to be technically a PB. So let's celebrate. And time. Alright, 52-42, not bad. We'll stick around for the credits. It's technically not official until we hit the 14% at the end on the item collection. But considering that you can't complete it without 14, and we obviously didn't get anything extra, pretty confident we're going to have 14. But yeah, it's Kit Kat time. Thank you for the GGs, appreciate it. All right, and once again, as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to thank Feasel and everybody at SpeedGaming for putting on this event. SNES Super Stars is always a really fun marathon, and obviously Feasel and SpeedGaming are involved with a lot of other things that happen. They work hand in hand with our Super Metroid organizers of tournaments and events to showcase a lot of our stuff, which we really appreciate, and always a lot of fun. A Kit Kat, that's right. I've been promoting Kit Kat for years now. I feel like I should get like an endorsement check, but you know, I guess they haven't quite noticed me just yet. Must feel good. I mean, considering this is the first low ice run in a SNES Superstars event, I guess it pretty much had to be a PB, right? But yeah, a lot of fun. Low ice is a great category, as I mentioned before. It's one of those categories where just completing a run of it, I think, is a really good accomplishment for a runner. Yeah, I've mentioned this before in other events too, but one of the other reasons I love Super Metroid is because a lot of our categories legitimately offer very unique ways of playing the game with different strats, different approaches, different style for boss fights and stuff, which to me keeps it fresh. You can run Super Metroid and do like 4 or 5 different categories over, you know, your speedrunning career or whatever. And like, it's almost like playing a new game. It's like you have that basic skill set there, but you got to learn all this new stuff for each different type of category. So it's a really good game to play. Oh, I need to put Sam on the screen. Hold on. All right, Sam. The world wants to see you. Come here, baby. Let me give you a treat. This is Miss Samus back here. She has been patiently waiting. Might need to raise it a bit for the camera on the SNES Super Stars thing. But yeah, guys, I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. There's the 14%. Thanks again to everybody for watching. Enjoy the entire SNES Super Stars event. My name has been Kipp. Hope you guys have a fantastic Friday and rest of your weekend. And as always, we will see you next mission. Goodbye, everybody.